Boston wrestling sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
All right, wrestling fans, we continue to wish you a very happy holiday as a human sea of new guests join our regular routine of Tony Atlas every Tuesday night at 10, Party with Marty Jannetty every Thursday night at 10, which might be better suited for 2 in the morning, but that's a different story.
Party with Marty.
And then John Cena Sr., the former Raw main eventer himself, gives us a unique perspective after SmackDown Friday nights at 10, but we have so many great new folks coming in. I've been so excited about Tatanka. I have heard such great things through secondhand through some of our mutual friends.
Cool.
I see how socially engaged you are with the fans.
Yes.
So I thought not only would he be great for the toy drive, but to be part of this rotation of guests on this show.
Of
Again,
course.
to share the memories, the legends, the places, the events, the experiences,
yes.
the good, sometimes the not so good. It's a crazy industry, but as I like to say, when professional wrestling is done right, there is no better form of sport, action, excitement, or entertainment on God's green earth.
It's absolutely awesome. Before I got in the business, I actually played football and actually went to the Miami Dolphins. I had free agent tryouts and made those cuts. And I think back about football and I think about wrestling. Wrestling is just a tremendous business. You know, not only do you have the blessing of traveling all over the world, most people don't know how our schedule was. We were literally on the road 300 days a year. On weekends, these guys complain about their schedule today.
4 days on,
4 days on,
off.
3
Right now,
days
it's only
off.
1 day.
Yeah, 4 days on, 3 days off. You got it. I know you know the schedule. 4 days off, because I've been on the new contract too with SmackDown. But during that time, 300 days a year on the road, and on weekends we would do matinee shows. We would do a show at 1 o'clock in one town, and then do another show at 8 o'clock in another town. I literally wrestled about 500 times a year, not including if you were being used on TV by Vince McMahon. You would wrestle at least twice. Everyone always talks about Tatanka, the undefeated streak, the 2-year undefeated streak. Goldberg, 173-0. When we finally figured out and we started talking to everybody, actually I probably went close to like 1,000-0. Because I went 2 years undefeated.
2 years, right.
2 years undefeated,
And
so it's
you
crazy.
You mentioned the double shots, and then sometimes at those longer TV tapings, you'd work 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times.
Oh, yes. You 2, 3 times, and you could work a 4th time if you're working the very last match, which is a dark match. Which a dark match, you got paid very well. So you wanted to be on the dark match because you got paid to the house. You know, you got a percentage of the house. And during that time, it was always sold out, always sold out. I'm very excited, too. I got 2 tremendous sons. I have 4 kids, two tremendous sons. Our son, who is 11 years old, is a 2-time Florida State Wrestling Champ,
Wow.
2020 Grand Champion, meaning he won 4 tournaments in one wrestling season from 2019 to 2020. So he is dominating. He is dominating. I mean, dominating so much that high schools were already recruiting him. He's only 11. They were already recruiting him a year and a half ago.
Wow.
That's how good he is. And our other son, we're talking about football, Joseph, I just found out 2 days ago before coming here, not only did he make the Hernando All-County team, but he was picked as the GC8 Defensive Player of the Year playing football. So I got 2 boys that are just dominating.
No, I tell you, I saw some of those posts on social media about it. It looks
Yes.
like, I'm not as familiar with your son with the amateur wrestling, but I've seen the football picture post that you've put up. And
yes.
it looks like he's going places.
Oh, he's going places.
How old is he?
He's just turned 16. He's
Turned
a junior.
16. Okay, same age as my exquisite yellow one.
So
Okay.
GC8 Defensive Player of the Year. That means he's the best of all the defensive players in 2 different conferences in Florida where we're at. So 2 different counties in Florida where I'm at. So it's tremendous. I mean, he's already had colleges already interested. But the other great thing about him, too, he has a 4.0 GPA.
Wow.
And this morning, before I left, our son was leaving at 6:30 this morning, going in to practice the ACTs, preparing for the SAT, so he can dominate. But he's doing a 4.0 because people are already talking to him. College is already interested in him.
Are they playing high school sports down in Florida?
Yes,
Yeah,
I was so concerned about his junior year because of this crazy COVID situation. Thank God my son had his championship wrestling match, which was in February of 2020, and then that's when he won Grand Champion and he won Florida State Wrestling Champion, gold medal, but it was right February 17th, I think was the date. As you know, the next month is when COVID hit. The next month. And even wrestling, it's been very, very hard. It was all shut down, All the serious people, and I'll tell you, I don't care what you're chasing out there or what you're doing or what your career or what you're going after. Just because the world shut down, winners don't shut down. Winners find a way. You have to find a way to win, to fulfill the dream, to accomplish whatever goal. So a lot of the kids were wrestling right in their garages with mats on the floor, bringing in coaches. I've done the same thing too. We're wrestling all over, but finally we've been able to get into a lot of the MMA dojos, which they've been open and they're doing temperature checks. So because you can't get in the schools. The schools are shut down because of COVID. But you find a way. So we found a way with wrestling. We found a way working in MMA dojos. And then, of course, football. I was so happy that they worked it out for the kids to have a season because not only did my son play this year, but he did exactly what I told him to do. You need, by the end of your junior year, you're going to have to hit some of those all-school honors, county honors, where he went over the top. Defensive Player of the Year. I couldn't be no more thankful to God. I couldn't be more thankful for what's happening. We're truly blessed.
Well,
so many great things happening.
Congratulations. I think I met one of your sons at the WrestleCon in Orlando a couple of years ago because he came over to our booth and he wanted Zeb Coulter's autograph. And I didn't know it was your son. But as soon as I found out it was your son, I said, whatever it was. I said, take the money back.
Yes,
Will you tag along with you on some of those events?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. For sure, Orlando, Tampa, anytime I'm doing something in the Florida area when I can bring them. Of course, this business is all over the world, so I can't always take them. But they've been to a lot of different places with me. But yeah, ecstatic about the success of our kids. But, it comes from... again, I've always believed, I don't see any walls. Before getting into WWE, I was divisional manager of Bally's Health and Tennis Corporation. I was one of the top producers in the company. I sold $1 million worth of memberships myself.
Wow.
My club was responsible for $400,000 to $500,000 a month in gross, which we would hit every month.
Florida or North Carolina?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful area, for having a having a health club. Yeah, there's a lot of nightclubs in Fort Lauderdale, but having a health club in Fort Lauderdale, just perfect area. You got the Florida weather, you got the beaches, a lot more health conscientious, just like California. The gyms, though, have totally changed. It's not like how it used to be. And COVID has really killed the gym business. It's amazing. A lot of gyms went out. There's a lot of businesses that went out with this thing. So have faith, guys. I know it's been a crazy year, 2020. Have faith. I know the wrestling business, no live wrestling events. I know it's been tough, but hang in there. 2021 is coming. It's going to be a better year. Sometimes you go through things so you can really understand the blessings. Sometimes you go through things to get you to where you truly need to be. So it's all how you look at it.
And maybe, you know what, sometimes I look at it like this during frustrating moments, as we've had several live events right now. We've had the deposits paid, the rents paid, all the airfare booked. Never mind thousands of dollars in advertising we flush down the toilet, we'll never get back again.
Yeah.
But I don't know what religion you are, but sometimes I look at it like, you know what, maybe it's the big man upstairs saying, you know what, you need to hit, almost like on a DVD, hit the pause button on life and take a look around and see what's going on.
Of course.
Have more time to spend with those that are in your home. You see so many families that, you know, 4 people that live in the house with 4 different dinner times. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You just said it. Well, it's perfect. You know, where we were talking earlier about North Carolina, Pembroke, North Carolina, one of the strong traditions of our Native American group there is when it was time for breakfast, it was a certain time, and everyone sat down at the breakfast table as a family. Same thing with lunch, same thing with dinner. You know, family would come together. Now, like you said, everyone's having separate times. No one's close. There's no communication going on. This has been a really good opportunity with this, like you said, breaks put on to realize what's truly precious and truly valuable in life. Not running after the money. Yeah, money's important, okay, as long as it doesn't control you, but you got to understand some of the most valuable things in life are right in front of you. And some of those most valuable things don't cost you anything at all. You know, like I love, you know, I've got land where I live, and I can go out and back, and there's no one around. There's woods, a beautiful forest, got acres of cleared property. We just live in a beautiful area. And it's just so peaceful just to look around, to see an eagle every once in a while, a lot of hawks, just to see all the creation and just see the beauty that's all around you. So many times you're running, you don't even realize all the great things right there that you can really enjoy if you just take the moment just to sit back, take a deep breath of air, and enjoy. I believe there was definitely a pause button push, but there's a lot to 2020.
There's been a lot of negative too, but
yeah, of course.
I always wonder, figure 9 months from when this began, when it's all said and done, will there be more births or more divorces?
Oh, of course, yeah. I think there's going to be more births. That's what everybody's been saying. There's going to be a lot more babies during this time. A lot of people have been, you know, and believe me, wherever you're viewing, I know some of the states are crazy. I come from Florida. I thank God for Governor Ron DeSantis, you know, Republican governor. And it's not that Republican. It's just thank God that we got someone who believes that we need to be open and running and chasing our dreams and doing the things that we need to do for our family, doing the things that we need to do for business. So, you know, Florida's wide open, you know, but some of the states totally shut down. I've been traveling everywhere. I just came from New York. I've been to New York twice just recently. It's crazy what they're doing in New York. Yeah. California totally shut down. You know, it's absolutely amazing. So
Times Square in New York looks like something out of one of those Armageddon movies.
Of course it does.
Few people.
And we're talking about New York City. I couldn't believe about a month ago I flew into New York City. Not only did I walk through LaGuardia Airport with hardly nobody there, but when I came out to curbside, I looked up that way there was like only 50 people waiting outside. And you're talking about New York City. It's just tremendous, you know. So, but have faith. Look up. You can always look at things, as they say, glass half empty, or is it half full? You need to always look at it half full. Up, you know, positive, encouraging.
Well, for those that enjoy our show, maybe the positive way to look at it is, even though we haven't been able to bring you the exciting live wrestling events that is my true passion, look at the great new guests we've been able to bring to the studio this year as a result of the way of the world right now with the virus. I mean, I don't know if we would have had Tatanka here in studio. I don't know if Marty would be a weekly part of the fabric that we do every Thursday night. Who knows if we ever would have had the Nasty Boys? Well, like you said, sometimes it's half full and half empty.
Yeah.
Different story for a different time. But we've been able to do a lot of unique things. Thank God that we have this studio, because it's such a great platform. Tatanka,
yes,
luckily, is someone that has done well in the post full-time wrestling career. You know, have a very successful life down in Florida, or a great
Yes.
family. It appears great health.
Yes.
But we have so many, and I hate to put Marty out there, but I mean, he's a prime example. There's so many of the Brotherhood that have hit hard times that, out of
Of course.
necessity, they need to be on the road every weekend with indie shows and autograph signings.
Of course.
And they're out of work. It's non-existent. And I mean,
Yes.
there's only so many days in a week I can have people here in this TV studio, but it's very important to me, partially because of what this man put into my
Yes.
head, is to try and remember that we are a brotherhood. There's a
course.
lot of craziness that goes on. Sometimes there's professional politics that go on in
Of
wrestling.
course.
But at the end of the day, it should be that brotherhood that looks after each other. And if this studio can help these guys through some hard times, doing very easy work. I mean, it's not like anyone has to get into a wrestling ring and,
Exactly.
bump and lump and so on and so forth. You come talk, share some memories,
Yeah.
sign some autographs. If the restaurants are open at night, eat, drink, and be merry.
Yeah, well, what I've seen, just like we were talking earlier, your ratings are way higher now with what you're doing.
Yeah.
I've been doing these virtual since this COVID has started. I was like one of the first guys out with third-party events, and the virtuals have been off the hook. They've been like crazy. I mean, all the ones I've done, just tremendous amounts of business that we've done. What that tells me is the wrestling industry, the fans are just hungering for
get
our
back to
business to get back to where it needs to be. But it's great that we still have this outlet to be able to speak to you, to still be able to connect, and also, like you said, to be able to hear stories, to be able to hear things you never get an opportunity. That's the thing about WWE, guys. Like when you're in a line at WWE, which I've signed at WrestleMania, they're just moving the line along. It's just a signature. These kind of events is when you get an opportunity to be able to get to know that superstar, get to know a little bit about the industry, Again, World Wrestling Federation, just a tremendous time. Just when you'd walk into the buildings, when you drive up to the buildings. I've been with here in 2005 to 2007, and I've also been other events with WWE, WrestleMania 32. It's totally different, man, like Caesar's Palace. The excitement around Vegas for WrestleMania 9, where I faced Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title. You would pull up to buildings in Europe, and there'd be thousands of people outside, dressed up as The Undertaker, dressed up as Paul Bearer, Native American Tatanka, Legion of Doom, Barbarian, Warlord. I mean, you'd see all the characters outside, Macho Man, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan. It was just tremendous. And the excitement inside of the buildings, you could literally cut it with a knife. It's not like that today. It's changed so much. Vince has blown the records off. He shattered the glass ceiling more than once, many times. I mean, for WrestleMania to be the kind of event it is, it's being bidded on. It's one of the top 5 sporting events
Of any kind.
In the world. It's in the top 5. So you guys should be very proud of that, because you have caused that, the fan base. That's how tremendous you guys are. The guys in this industry, especially from my era, I started 90s, but the 80s and 90s, we respect the WWE universe because we understand it begins with you. Yes, Vince has got the great TV, and yes, a lot of it have some great talent, but without the fan base, without them supporting, without you guys being here, we'd be nothing. So we thank you for the support, definitely.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it better myself. WWE right now, someday, 20, 30 years from now, there's going to be a group of fans that are going to say, you know what, that was the golden era of wrestling, because that's what they grew up with. But I truly believe that 80s boom into the early 90s was the time. You know what's funny? I couldn't tell you what was on TV a couple of weeks ago in WWE, but I could tell you from the first time I went as a little 5-year-old me to the Boston Garden when they were in town every month, the top 4 or 5 matches every month from August of 1986 to May of 1995 when it closed down.
That's amazing.
It was immersed in me.
To confirm with that too, Dan, I travel all over the world still. Very busy schedule. I mean, all over the world. Everywhere I go, and this is not pumping our era, we didn't realize it until being away from that era. Everywhere I go, when I speak to fans, they're talking to me about the 80s or 90s. With all the great superstars, all the big numbers we've had, all the great things that's happened with WWE, they're not talking about the current roster. They're not talking about the current storyline. They're going back to WrestleMania 3 when Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant at the Pontiac Silverdome. They're going back to WrestleMania 9, WrestleMania 8 when I debuted with Rick the Model Martel. They remember the storylines. They remember the eagle feather. They remember how it started with Bam Bam, cutting the red mohawk. We had great storylines. We had great storytellers in our business, from the Pipers to Sergeant Slaughter. You know, so many great names that could tell those stories. And it was just tremendous, and people loved that time. They loved the 80s and 90s. It's
and you
amazing.
know what I think part of what is missing now? And again, I think WWE, they have state-of-the-art production values beyond any form of sport and entertainment in 2020. I think if you watch the shows, it's probably the greatest group of athletes they've ever had as far as what they can physically do.
Yeah.
But what I think is missing is, and it's not everybody, but the majority of the roster, they're slighter, they're smaller. They don't have that physical toughness. They look like if I saw you on the street,
Of course.
I could break your jaw.
Of course,
like
exactly.
We're talking about some of the smaller guys in NXT. I mean, they could pass as high school kids.
Well, let me, perfect example. When I started World Wrestling Federation in 1990, when I went to the gym the first day, here I am. I walk into the gym, always worked out 5 days a week, still working out 5 days a week, doing cardio. That's how I stay in shape. I walk in the gym. Here's Legion of Doom, okay? Hawk and Animal. They're taking 405 on the bench press, doing reps. It was singing, ka-cling, 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 ka-cling. I look over here, here's Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Whole stack, tricep, boom, boom. Look over here, here's Ultimate Warrior, shredded. You know, here's Hogan, here's Warlord, Barbarian, Hercules. I mean, just monsters. Everybody, when I came in, was 275 minimum and on up. Now you got guys that are less than $200, less than 200 pounds. You know, and it's amazing because back in that day, you could see the respect that the guys got from the fan base, because we went out, no one was messing with none of the guys. You know, they wouldn't say nothing. But now I see fans go, shut up, I'll kick your butt. You know, so again, the biggest difference is the characters. Everyone had great characters. Paul Bearer. Oh, yes.
He wasn't the
great characters. The Undertaker, great characters, you know, and characters who could portray that character and that storyline in the ring. And also we're athletes too. Yeah, you got some great athletes, but they're missing that character. They're missing those great storylines. But it's tremendous what Vince McMahon has done. He just continues to break
state-of-the-art
ceiling. So hats off to you, Vince. I've always given him credit. You know, you got a lot of guys that get away from the company. Vince McMahon this, Vince McMahon that. Vince McMahon's done phenomenal what he's done with WWE.
Well, Tony Atlas kind of looks at it from both sides of the coin, but the one thing he's always appreciative of, if it wasn't for Vince McMahon and WWF, what would he be doing on a lot of those weekends when he has the independent shows and has the personal appearances?
Of course.
They presented a platform for you to become a star on it, for better or worse.
Of course.
And that's forgotten sometimes.
And it gets down to, just like anything, it's a very, very competitive company. Of course, there's politics involved. And you gotta hustle. You gotta, like when I started, you had to have something that the company wanted at that time. There wasn't 25 positions open. There was like 1 or 2 that would open up. Now you got NXT, you got Raw, you got SmackDown, you got so many events. You got the training center down in Orlando. It's like a revolving door of talent coming in, talent going out. Back in the day, you really had to have something.
It was tough.
You had to have a look. It was tough. You had to have a look. So you have to work. You have to put your hard work in. You know, a lot of guys sometimes they're not with the company and they blame Vince. Well, you got to hustle, man. You know, a lot of talent looking to get that spot, looking to get those top few spots are there. So you got to bust your butt.
Well, as everybody knows, with this Wrestling Insider series, my mantra and thought process has always been WWE has gone out and they've created their own library of content over the past 50, 60 years. They've bought in many libraries. They have the right to do with that whatever they want to do on WWE Network and DVDs and so on and so forth. But at the same time, there's a lot of great, exceptional talent that went out And they have these experiences that they don't have the opportunity to share. That's why I think this show is a great platform. As you know, I love to break down guys' time, particularly in WWF, because that's where most of your requests come from. But before we get to that point with Tatanka, you guys had messaged me particularly about two individual people, and I want to talk to you about that. One of which, as we're taping this, passed just a few days ago, the late, great Pat Patterson. Your impressions of the man, what he meant to your career, his involvement in what you did during your great time in WWF.
Well, when I started, yes, we missed Pat. So, again, heartfelt sympathies out to the family or anybody who is part of the Pat Patterson family. But just tremendous when we started, because it's not like how the WWE is today. The WWE today, you have 20, 30 people in creative. You got all the agents. You got so many people. When I started, it was Vince McMahon, Pat Patterson, and Chief Jay Strongbow. That was it. You had Caesar, which is Vince McMahon. That was his nickname, Caesar. And you had Pat Patterson, and you had Chief Jay Strongbow. You had two wrestlers, Pat Patterson, who was that very successful babyface. He would slap the ring and rub his hands to it when it was that time for comeback. Again, fired up. It's time. It's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. You're getting ready to get your butt whipped. So you had two successful wrestlers being able to help other wrestlers to be able to get that story portrayed to the wrestling fans. Now you got so many people, you don't have that closeness. I mean, I remember, I see the book behind me with Lex Luger. I remember when I sat down with Lex Luger, the storyline with Lex Luger, it was just Vince McMahon and myself who talked about that. Sitting down at a TV building, just me and him alone. Not 50 people, just Vince McMahon and myself. So those are cherishable times, because you're speaking with the genius himself, Vince McMahon, and you're being able to put input and just talk to him one-on-one. You don't have that. And I think that far reach is maybe the reason why, because the company's way bigger now, of course. It's a monster.
Sure.
So Vince McMahon's had to, he's not on the forefront, not so easy to be spoken to. Yeah, he can be spoken to, but there's so many others to speak to before them. But Pat, just tremendous. I mean, everyone knows Pat was responsible for the Rock character. I mean, what he's done in the industry is tremendous. Again, the reason why he had such a successful wrestling career, but more important career as being the booker, because he was a successful wrestler. He knew what the fans wanted to see, and then also he knew what to do with other guys. Again, the ending of the 90s, what a tremendous time that we hit a 10 on the Nielsen scale with TV, Rock and Stone Cold. Well, Pat Patterson was part of that Rock character. Pat just had a great mind for the business, fabulous mind for the business, and funny, just always joking with you, great guy, just always professional with me, and he loved me, and he loved my character. He loved that I was Native American, and he thought it was just a perfect fit for World Wrestling Federation. So everything from Pat for me was always positive.
Can you think of maybe any particular match, or maybe an idea, or a storyline, or an angle that he was ever instrumental in during your time there that sticks out?
Nothing that stuck out is because, again, we never knew who was really making that final decision. I know it was Vince.
Sure.
And I won't say that nothing that stuck out. Pat was right on the forefront. The reason probably more with me why I could say not Pat is because Chief Jay Strongbow, don't forget, played the Native American character. So Chief was right by my pocket side all the time. And also, when I got there, he made it very clearly to stand with him and be with him and listen to him, because he played the character.
Which was wise.
Yeah, very wise. He when I first came in, I was already the native. I was War Eagle Chris Chavis. I came in with a loincloth, moccasin boots. I was doing the war dance. I was doing the tomahawk chop. I was doing it all. But Chief showed me how to do things in a better way for that worldwide stage of being World Wrestling Federation. So really, Chief is who I spent all my time with. But I see Pat all the time. Pat was just fabulous. He's fantastic. Just a great mind in our business that's been lost. A very creative mind. You know, not everybody's creative like that. Pat Patterson was very creative like
genius,
that.
I think.
Creative genius. You got it. Definitely.
And you can't say genius about everybody.
No,
A lot
no,
of
no.
creative people in our industry.
Of course.
That's a creative genius.
A creative genius. You got it. Definitely.
Did you ever hear him sing My Way?
No, I never heard him sing My
You
Way.
never heard him? Wow,
no,
you must be one of the few.
and you know why? And the reason why that, and the reason I know that right now, is because so many people have been talking about that since he passed. I didn't know that.
Yeah, at the I don't know if you're familiar with the Cauliflower Alley Club, but
Yes.
every year we have the reunion out in Vegas, and the times he would come, he'd love to get the microphone and croon away to everybody eating dinner.
That's tremendous.
You know, I wouldn't say he was exactly Sinatra, but he was pretty good.
Yes.
He was pretty good.
Yes, he was good. Yeah, Pat had a good voice.
Well,
Yeah,
I
he had a
tell
good
you
voice.
this, if I had a hat on, I'd tip it to the man for everything he contributed to
course.
this business. It was sad. We had Jerry Briscoe with us a few times in 2019, and we had to pick him up at the WrestleMania Hotel
Yes.
to go to the appearance. And he was saying at that point, now this is April of 19, the last time
19.
there was a live WrestleMania, and he said Pat couldn't even leave the room. He was feeling so ill at the point. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, it was sad, but you know what? Just a guy, you talk about the nickname that they gave Hulk Hogan, the Immortal Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
It's an immortal man. I mean, not only what he produced in ring, but look at everything he helped produce that you guys have enjoyed going back to, I think he joined the company in the early 80s.
Early 80s. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah.
definitely early 80s. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was part of that whole time coming from the 80s all the way through the 90s. And like I said, it was only Vince, Pat, and Chief Jay Strongbow. That was it. That was
kept
it.
it simple.
I mean, we had agents, but agents weren't as much as involved as how they are now with the creative aspect. It was Chief, Pat, and Vince talking. And then it would come from there, and then they would portray, this is how we want to do, and off to running. It was all three of them pretty much. But Chief really spent special time with me since, again, I was Native American
Perfect.
with the Native American character.
I think they've oversimplified it. I think they make it too complicated with so many people
It is.
involved in making the meal.
Of course
too
it
many
is.
chefs.
Of course it is. It's too complicated. One of the biggest things that you can hear from talent is, even when I was there in 2005 to 2007, you know, I went for a one appearance. I went to do if you remember, the Eugene Gold Invitational, match when he had that issue with him and Kurt Angle. Well, they picked a perfect place to do it. They were actually doing it from which casino was it? They were doing a casino in Connecticut.
Mohegan
the
Sun.
Mohegan Sun.
Yeah, okay.
Mohegan Sun. So they always would invite a local. Well, Mohegan Sun, Native American lands,
Perfect.
sovereign lands. Well, that's where Tatanka showed up, But there was so much talent there. What was happening was talent would have great ideas, but there were so many people who were involved in creative. You could bring a great idea, but there could be maybe 4 or 5 that love it, but then you could have 3 or 4 that didn't love it, and it would just not go anywhere. So I think they have made it harder instead of being so simplified as it was before, that we could just sit down and talk and have a talk, and then just, like Vince would say, let's go with it. It's just like when he asked me to get the name Tatanka. It wasn't Vince McMahon who did that. He sat down with me and said, listen, I respect totally that you're truly Native American from the Lumbee tribe. We don't want to do anything to offend your great heritage. He said, why don't you look for a name, wrestling name? So as I started looking for names, Native American names, to give you a perfect example, everyone knows a movie with Kevin Costner. I've met Kevin Costner, Dances with Wolves, okay? Well, in that movie, if you see him, there's a lot of, like Kevin Costner's name, Dances with Wolves, because natives will name you to the characteristics that they see in your life. In the movie, he was dancing with the wolf, chasing with the wolf. The natives were watching him. The wolf was chasing him, he was chasing. But also, the other person in the movie, the lady, stands with a fist, because she stood up, knocked someone out. So there's normally 3 or 4 words. Well, as I did more research, I came along this, again, Lakota name, Sioux name. That was a name for the word buffalo, and it was Tatanka. And I went, oh my God, what a perfect name. Because the fans, it's not stands with a fist or dances with wolves. They can't share that.
Right.
But I went, Tatanka, Tatanka. So when I went back to Vince, Vince says, did you find a name? I says, yeah. I said, Tatanka. He says, I love it. He says, what does it mean? I said, buffalo. He says, great, we're going to run with it because you're going to run over all your opponents. That's exactly what he said. Because a buffalo, boom.
And that's what you
You
did.
ain't going to stand the buffalo. You're going to run flat over you.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. Vince ran with that. Tatanka, buffalo. That's how simple it was. We were talking about simpler earlier. Everything made sense. Rick Martel, taking the eagle feather. Everyone knows you might not know Native American history, but don't mess with the natives' eagle feather. That's sacred to them. It made sense. Simple, made sense, and for real. Today they try to go so far and make it so complex that people can't emotionally get tied to it and truly believe it. Back in our day, I remember when IRS, Mike Rotunda, ripped up my headdress by ringside, and Chief Jay Strongbow came out. He beat Chief Jay up and had me tied up in the ropes. I remember that when we finally got out of the ropes, and I came to Chief and I had him in my lap, and I had the feathers, and I reached up with this loud screech cry. When we're looking by ringside, people were literally crying. Literally crying by ringside. And that was in Mass. Somewhere in Mass is where that, I can't remember where that was at. I think we did TV. Somewhere close to here for that actual time when my feathers got tore up. People were literally crying because it made sense. A sacred headdress given to him by his ancestors, totally destroyed because IRS says, I got to pay a gift tax. Don't you know that natives don't pay tax, IRS? It was just a great storyline.
Yeah.
So simple, keep it simple.
I can't wait to break down those times in your career as we move forward with the series. But the other gentleman that the folks had asked about is one, he was a big part of the WWF back in the first year you were there. Passed away just a little after my birthday in his own, Road Warrior Animal.
Oh, God. Animal was just, I got to spend time with the Animal. I always spent time with Animal. Just like I told you, Legion of Doom just hit it off with a lot of the guys. Animal and Hawk, I mean, they were just two fantastic guys. I mean, just, great characters, great for the wrestling business, looked the part, tough ass, didn't take no crap. And Animal just, it's sad to say, it was just a shock, I've been out on the road and been seeing him, been autograph signings, and everyone famously taking that picture with the shoulder pads on, okay? And all of a sudden hearing that Animal passed away, it was like, wow. It was really shocking to see him pass away. Just a great guy. Animal was a great guy, and that tag team signified a big part of our wrestling history.
He was supposed to be in that seat November 14th.
Wow. Yeah, what a shame. That's again, that's the reason you cherish life, but to miss him is just a great part of history gone in our business, history lives on forever.
Sure.
But actually being able to reach out and touch it. That's one thing too I love about the WWE today. The WWE, one of the greatest things that we've had, and what Vince has done. People didn't understand it then. Some people want to get paid more money, But the WWE Network, it's absolutely tremendous. You were talking about how you bought all the archives.
Yep.
It's tremendous because you can go on there. I can't tell you how many people I've met all over the world walking up, a 5-year-old coming up to my table. You're my favorite superstar. Now he's 5 years old. He's 5 years old. Now, I know he wasn't there in 1990, but that's because of the WWE Network. So thank you, Vince McMahon. He's a visionary. He sees ahead. He knew what he was going to do. And having all of that network and having all of that, oh, my God, everything he has is tremendous for history so they can see the 80s, the 90s, see Animal of the Legion of Doom, see Hawk of the Legion of Doom, see all these great superstars.
A lot can be said about royalties and residuals and things like that, and there may be some validity to it. But I look at it like this: WWE Network and even YouTube, being able to access that content is opening you up to a whole new generation of fans that otherwise, unless they were popping in Dad's VHS tapes, wouldn't have a clue that you even existed.
Exactly, and it's amazing how many kids come up to me, you're my favorite superstar. And obviously their dad was back in that era, and they have them look. And what happens when the kids go back and look, they're just intrigued, because everyone was larger-than-life characters. Look at all your great movies today. Animated movies.
Yep.
Some of these movies doing billions of dollars, hundreds of millions on opening weekend. And they're animated characters. You know, how many times do you see Rocky Balboa on? Every single week, all over the United States, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, 3, 4, 5. You see all of the movies. How many times are you in the movie? You've seen it. Yo, Adrian, I did it.
Yeah,
How many times have you seen it? But you know why? Great story.
Great. Let's ask
Great
Quincy
story.
Rustani. He can recite that movie from beginning to end.
There you go.
It's part of the fabric of their life.
So you want to see a great story. So that's what's so great about, again, the WWE Network. They bring back a great era of wrestling, 80s and 90s, with superstars like you just mentioned, Animal, even Pat Patterson. I'm sure they got a lot of his footage from back in the day too. Tremendous babyface.
And even his commentary when he couldn't pronounce an S.
Oh, yes.
I think more than just the network too, the whole Legends program. Your action figures have been a great success, and they're out there for a lot of the guys.
Tremendous.
The video games that the kids play. That's what the little one that we sent the shout out to earlier, well, that he hasn't seen yet. But I mean, you know, there's a kid that a few times, you know, I come in conversation with him. I'm amazed that he'll pull out a wrestling name like Demolition.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I know who Demolition are. And I mean, Bill Eadie finished up at Survivor Series 1990 before you were even in the company that long ago. And to him, you know, he's familiar with who they are because of those platforms.
Of course. Well, what's tremendous what Vince has done, and Vince knew it too. You know, it's like when I was there with another great superstar, Dusty Rhodes, that we missed. I forget, it was probably, when was that? It was Old School Raw. And if I remember right, that was 2010. We did an Old School Raw. Dusty Rhodes was there, and a lot of the legends were there, and Hall of Famers were there. Vince knows, because even then, when we were there, they were doing like a 3.0. That night, we did almost a 6. It doubles. I mean, I don't know if you guys understand how powerful that is. You know, to double the ratings in one. So that's why Vince has done what he's done, this called nostalgic or Legends contract. Like my action figure with all the superstars, my first Elite that came out, all the superstars, all the TV time they're having currently. When my last Elite, which is sold out, when it went for sale and started selling, it was on the list of the top 10 action figures. Wow. Top 10 being sold currently of all the guys at that time. I was on the list several weeks in the top 10. Now here's my TV. I was on TV 2005 to 2007, 2010, but not like I was in the 90s where every single weekend.
The red and the blue.
Yeah, every single weekend, every Saturday morning, every Monday Night Raw, every Saturday, all these guys, but my action figure's selling in the top 10. So it's tremendous, again, what Vince has been able to do with all those guys from that era. And merchandising for him has been tremendous, because all the legends, their stuff sells out.
And for action figure aficionados, it's safe to say right now that you have a more 1992 themed Tatanka coming as a Target exclusive.
Oh, yeah.
With the white tights.
This is really cool. If you guys have been following social media, my company and myself have been posting it. They're coming out with the WWF Legends Elite Collection, Series number 9. I think Series 8 is in the store now, exclusive at Target. It's actually in my debut ring gear with the white tights that I wore at WrestleMania 8 with Rick the Model Martel at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. We had 80,000 there. It was tremendous. Actually, I had my tribe, my dancers and singers, and one of the chief, Ray Little Turtle, was actually there. They actually came out before me. So again, I'm coming with my original ring gear. It's tremendous. It looks fabulous. They did an awesome job on my figure. I mean, they put you in a laser machine, but some guys just, when they get done, it doesn't look like it. Mine, it's not because it's me. They just did an awesome job with mine.
Mattel has done a fantastic job with that line.
Yeah, Mattel's done a great job.
You know what I'm thinking already? In my brain, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking, you know what? Once those hit the stores, we should stock up. And even in a worst case scenario, we have them ready for the 10th annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive next year, and hopefully we can have you back even before then.
Yeah,
I think these series of interviews are going to go over great, even if, you know, it's sad to talk about some of our friends in the brotherhood that we've lost, but there are great memories and experiences.
Of course.
Is there anything with Joe that maybe stands out to you? A fun trip, something in the locker room, a certain match?
Never got to work. Of course, I was babyface
Right.
for Joe. Just, Joe was just one of those guys, man. I've gotten more closer with him in the later years. You got to understand our schedule then, 300 days a year. We were always friendly. We were always talking, all of us. I mean, we were a true family during that time. I mean, the World Wrestling Federation, I'm sure you've talked to the guys, we're a very knit family. We're very tight. You mess with one, you mess with everyone. It was totally different. It's not like how it is, and I'm not saying they're not family today, but it was truly a family. And Joe and Hawk, man, they were just stand-up guys, man. Stand-up guys, tough guys in the business. And Joe just had a great heart, man. Just a great guy, just a great superstar. We're just going to miss him, man. Just a great superstar.
And again, as you
Great
know,
legacy, tag team champions. I mean, WCW, WWE, everything that they've done, even before their career, everything they've done. I mean, as far as tag team industry, you're talking about one of the biggest tag teams in the professional wrestling industry.
And much more of a surprise, you hate to say it, than Hawk, who had his problems over the
Yes,
years.
of
Joe,
course.
when we had Joe in before, he was never a drug guy, an
No.
alcoholic,
No.
a
No.
drinker. He was a clean living human being.
Of course he was.
He loved God, he loved
Yes.
his family.
Yes.
And then just to see that, I think he was away on an anniversary trip with his wife, too, when it happened.
Wow.
Just such a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah, it is a shame.
And to think that he was excited about the idea of potentially becoming a regular on the show. He'd
Of course.
seen some episodes, and
Yeah.
again, November 14th, because of it didn't make a difference now with coronavirus, but God willing, he would have been here in this seat sharing his memories and experiences too. And that's why I think this series is so important, folks. Again, when we have our live premieres, to my right, the fans sometimes they type and chat their certain thoughts, like Slick Rick, Maria Davis, Tina, Will Cortez, all of our regular friends. The super chat button is always open to help keep the lights on.
Yeah.
But we want to know what you think about the different legends we discuss. We want to know who you want to hear us talk about. If you're not joining us during the premiere, in the description box below, same thing. Tell us what you think of the episode. Tell us who you'd like us to talk about more of, less of, certain questions, certain stories, because in the end of the day, like we've noted before, if we don't have these folks watching us, you and I are going to have a pretty quiet day.
A great story with another, Hall of Famer that is gone. Spent a lot of time with him. Great heart, big guy, soft heart. Rodney Anoa, Yokozuna. I was able to, just like I said, with Hawk, spend a lot of time with him when we went out to do a special event with Dennis Rodman when we went to Australia. I don't know if you remember, early 2000. I was out there with Dennis Rodman and
that's right.
Mr.
Yeah,
Perfect.
right. Yep,
I was on that tour. I wrestled One Man Gang. We had great, and we were selling out all the buildings in Australia. Rodney, I helped Rodney out with some big tours over in Saudi Arabia that I had booked for the royal family. I had connections definitely to the royal family, and I took Rodney over there. He made a lot of money. But, great story about Rodney. We're all in, I think it was Maryland, okay? Everybody thinks that we go to a building and we're practicing and we're working. No.
Right,
We're flying from town to town every single day. Get your rental car, go get your hotel, go work out, come back, take a shower, get to the building, get back to your hotel, do it the next day. Well, here we are. We're all in the building. We're getting ready. It's an hour before showtime, lacing up our boots, getting ready, in that zone, focused, okay? All of a sudden, you hear this big ba-boom! We're like, oh my gosh, what was that? And we're talking about everybody's there. Undertaker, Bret the Hitman Hart, Owen Hart, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, a lot of different, all the stars on the road, getting ready for showtime. We're looking around. We peel out of the locker rooms, we're looking, and all of a sudden we turn into another locker room, and when we come in, here's Yokozuna. Yokozuna's standing, and here's this big 460-pound guy, 560 actually, right around that time, 560. His eyes were this big, huge. He was holding the wall and holding another wall, because what happened, we were in a building in Maryland, and he was using the bathroom. He was sitting on the toilet, okay, but he was on a toilet that was one of the old toilets that was connected to the wall, not sitting on the ground. So here's Yokozuna sitting on the toilet, a big ba-boom! boom! He actually does a bonsai to the toilet. He's actually standing there with a busted toilet with a little bit, let's say, keep it PG here, some dirty water. Dirty water all around it, and he had porcelain sticking in his butt because he did a bonsai drop to the toilet. And what's even more funnier than that is I can't tell you how long it went on. Everybody knows this about Bret the Hitman Hart. I can't tell you how long it went on, but every single night after, Bret would get to the building earlier, he would always find a chalkboard, and he would paint the whole scene. He had Undertaker over there with his hat, me with my headdress on, Owen, Coco Beware, and then he had Yokozuna over here, bend over with his big old booty, with Mr. Fuji pulling porcelain out of his butt, and all of us looking at him laughing. Yokozuna, Bret, I'm going to kill you. Yokozuna chasing Bret around the building before showtime. I can't tell you how many weeks Bret did that. He did it for weeks. He drew it on the bulletin board for weeks. It was Yoko was just a great guy.
I don't remember who told me that story. It might even have been Percy if he was there for it, but I remember
Taker was there.
I howled the first time I heard that not only did the poor toilet break, but it was after the actual movement. And that was,
yes, exactly.
Was he clothed at least, or no?
Paul Bearer was there because Paul Bearer was there because Undertaker was there.
Right.
Because Undertaker, I remember how Bret drew it. Undertaker with his hat on, me with my headdress on, Bret over there with his glasses on, all of us laughing. It was just a tremendous time. But that's how we were. We're really family. We really joked and laughed and spent time together. We're a true family.
As we've noted, sure, there are professional politics for spots and money that go along with it. But at the end of the day, if you mess with one, you mess with everybody.
Oh, of course. You got that right. It was not like it is today, and nothing against the boys today. It was just a special unity with everyone there. And the thing about the guys then was we would come to a building, and some guys, they would like to go out and do their thing. But the thing that we noticed with all the guys during that time, when it was time for showtime, it was time for showtime. Everyone from the beginning match to the ending match knew exactly how to build that show. First match knowing what to do, not what not to do, meaning try to do everything in the first match. How many times do we see that? Wrestling fans, I could tell that, Dan. Everyone knew how to build that matchup that night for the explosion of the main event. It was just tremendous.
Or the explosion of Rodney's toilet.
Oh, yeah, of course. And that was a big kaboom!
I wish I got a chance to know him better. I'd only met him a few times when I was younger.
Rodney had a great heart. Just laughing, joking, I spent time with him and his family out in California, with all the Samoans. When you go to have a meal with them and spend time with them, they have bowls about
That's a meal.
Bowls about this big. So you talk about food. When you go around, you better get your share because ain't going to be no second time around. Samoan brothers can eat, all of the whole line, all of them strong. Not because they're working out in the gym. They just naturally been gifted by God, tribal, strong. I mean, I've been to Hawaii. I've taken my wife, and we went to Hawaii, went to all the islands. They can just climb right up a tree, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Normal person can't do that. It's just tremendous. So just that whole heritage, like again, Rikishi goes, Samoan dynasty. It truly is a dynasty.
It is a dynasty. Again, fans, that's what this series is all about. The memories, the legends, those that are still with us. Unfortunately, those that have passed. The great times, the good times, even some times that maybe weren't so good. We're going to try and reflect upon it all, not just with Tatanka, but all of the great guests we have coming in and out of this studio. Again, one of the great ways you can help keep the show on the air is the Patreon. You get early, ad-free access to every episode, along with our extensive studio shoot interview DVD library, and it costs less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. You're helping keep wrestling legends working. Not everybody has done as well as this man. As we've seen with Marty and Tony sometimes, you're really doing a good thing by supporting these programs. And I can't wait to start to break down the career of Tatanka in the WWF when the man joins us in the next episode. That's a subtle hint that we're running out of time, folks. Until we speak again, you and yours, be well, stay healthy. Good night.
Good night.